Alrighty, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Witch on the Holy Night, the series where this game continues to test my vocabulary and I fail it every time. So let's keep going. And I think we're close to the end here. I don't know why you say that when I'm using OBS. Well, it's too early in the video to be saying that type of word. Get wrecked, nerd, or get wrecked, PlayStation. So here we go. I think last time we left off, it was just Aoko and Sojiro talking to each other. Let's see. Quick load. All right, here we go. Let's get started. By evening, only Sojiro remained in the chapel. He sat alone at the end of the pew, slouching helplessly like a guilty believer ready to confess. The chilly air seeped through the halls, turning breath to mist. The frigid air stole the heat from the body without mercy. Sojiro looked around at the chapel's tall ceiling and spacious hall. The room made the air feel colder somehow. Unsure of what to do with himself, he stared into space. His thoughts were entirely unfocused. First and foremost, he could not understand what the buzzing sensation was in his chest. It's probably a heart attack, my friend. Time passed by. No answers came. To onlookers, he must have seemed deep in thought, or in a deep sleep, like he would turn to stone if left be. Either way, he clearly looked down. The problem was his lack of awareness, not that he was aware of it, of course.
おや、夜間の礼拝とは感心です。
Worshipping at this hour? You're quite the devotee. Oh, it's Father Harry.
Oh.
Sojiro raised his head and turned to where the voice had come from. Stood before the altar was the man from last night, dressed in the priestly garbs. How long had he been standing there? Sound reverberated dryly throughout the chapel hall. Sojiro did not have the strength to stand, let alone leave. He just stared at the approaching shadow.
もっとも、この教会に精霊なんていませんけどね。
Though, you will not find the Holy Spirit in this church.
ここ、座りますがよろしいですか?
Do you mind if I sit? The priest pointed at Sojiro's pew. Without waiting for an answer, he took a seat at the opposite end.
改めて挨拶を。私は文塚エイリ。この教会の何なんでしょうかね。書類の上では持ち主になるんでしょうか。エイリ神父と呼んでください。
I never formally introduced myself. I'm Eri Foodman Tsuka. This church is, owner, you could say. On paper, at least. Call me Father Eri.
あなたはSizuki宗十郎くんですか。なるほど。確かにユイカには見えない。
You must be Sojiro Sizuki, yes? I can see why Yuka didn't notice you. Father Eri spoke in a gentle but uninvested tone. Almost said uninterested. He was a thorough egoist. Sojiro knew all too well about people who spoke like this, or spoke this way. The individual who cared for him when he first came down from the mountain was one of them. Sojiro glanced across at him apathetically. Father Eri seemed unfazed by the lack of direction to the conversation.
少し君と話がしたいのですが、よろしいでしょうか。
I was wondering if I could speak with you for a moment. Sojiro responded with a nod. Father Eri replied with an artificial smile.
青子が心配のようですね。
You seem terribly worried about Aoko.
別に、律香さんにもそう聞かれましたけど、青崎の心配はしていないんです。
Not really. Ritsuka said the same thing to me, but that's not it. Sojiro stared straight ahead as he answered, his voice sounding what the hell? I know how to say this word. Uncharacteristically. There you go. I can say it, I promise. Weak and unsure.
けど、
Man,
今は
oof.
ずっと彼女のことが気にかかっている。それがなんだかわからなくて、さっきから考えてる最中です。
That's the longest time I struggled to say a word that I know how to say. What the hell, man? She's been on my mind a lot, and I don't know why. I'm trying to figure that out.
簡単ですよ。君は単に青子に嫉妬しているのです。
Well, the answer is simple. You envy her. With those few words, Sojiro snapped out of his funk. He clapped his hands and turned toward the priest.
そっか。俺は単に青崎が羨ましかっただけなんだ。
I see. So I just envy her.
いや、でもそれは困るな。
Wait a second. That can't be good.
自分の中にそういうところがあるなんて気づきもしなかった。
I didn't even know I could feel that way. Father Airy did not respond to his confession-like ramblings.
それで、話っていうのは何ですか？
So, what did you want to talk to me about?
いえ、話というより質問です。
Well, it's more of a question I'd like to ask, really.
君は今まで山奥に住んでいたと聞きました。そこで一つ、どうしても気になることがあって。
I heard you lived deep in the mountains until recently. Something strikes me as curious.
気になることですか？
Really? What?
はい。おそらく、今まで誰もあなたにこの手の質問をしなかったのでしょう。それはあなたが他人にその手の不安を感じさせないからです。実際、私もそう思いますし。
No doubt well, I doubt anyone has asked this to you before. No doubt because you don't unnerve the people around you. I admit, I feel the same way talking to you.
ですからまあ、これも縁ですし、私も肩書きがこれですしね。迷える子羊がいるんですから、それなりの務めを果たさないと、後ろめたいというか。
Maybe it's the opportunity presenting itself, or my sense of obligation as a man of the cloth. But when I see a lost lamb, I feel a need to guide it. Father Airy looked at Sojiro placidly. His pupils were like black holes that could suck the soul out of your body.
おかしなことが気になるんですね。
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
その、質問というのは。
What's your question exactly?
いえ、ごく自然の疑問ですよ。
Oh, don't worry. It's nothing unusual. It's probably going to be unusual.
あなたはなぜ山から降りてきたのか。そこでなら、君は幸福だったでしょうに。
Simply, why did you come down here? You seem like you'd be happier back home. Sojiro was not sure what he had done, but it sounded as though the priest was accusing him of something. Then again, it was a reasonable question, if a little pointless. Sojiro had no answer. Father Air ignored the sullen boy and continued.
山での生活がいかに厳しいものかは、私も人並みには知っています。若い頃、ちょっとした手違いで遭難したこともありますしね。
I'm somewhat aware of the challenges a life in the mountains might bring. I experienced it firsthand when I made a small mistake in my youth.
山での生活はこの上なく簡素です。何しろ生きること以外に時間を割く余裕がない。楽しむために生きるのではなく、生きるためにただ生きる。生活は必要最小限をさらに切り詰めたものとなっていく。
Life in the mountains is incredibly simple. Your time is dedicated to survival. You don't live for joy, but rather to stay alive. It makes a minimalist lifestyle seem full of excesses.
山での生活に比べれば、都市のあり方は楽園以外の何者でもないでしょ
Compared to that, city life should be nothing short of
う。
paradise.
ですが、楽園の定義は人それぞれです。
However, paradise seems something different to everyone. Sojiro still did not answer. His expression remained blank. The only sound was the priest's voice echoing around the chapel.
一粒の種の誕生すら喜びになる生活。電気の明かりがどれだけ暖かでも、自然のままの厳しい寒さを君は尊んでいたはずです。なのになぜ降りてきたのですか？山にいれば 君は幸せだったでしょうに。
Well, before I start talking, there's hopefully you guys can't hear, but somebody's going ham with the leaf blower out there. A life where even a single seed can bring joy, no matter the warmth the light of electricity brings. I expect you respect the bitter cold of nature more. So tell me, why come here when you'd be happier in the mountains? Father Airy repeated his question. Sojiro's mouth remained firmly shut, not because he did not want to answer, but because he simply did not know how to. All he knew was even if he wanted to go back, he could not.
困ったものです。そこをはっきりさせないことにはいつまでも救いがない。故郷を捨てた理由もわからないのに、旅先の土地を愛することなんて、まっとうな人間にはできませんよ。
My son, salvation will not be forthcoming to those who choose to ignore its calling. If you don't know why you left, you won't be able to love where you arrived.
これは忠告ですが、すべてを無条件に肯定したところで幸福になれるとは限りません。
A word of advice. Happiness doesn't come from the unquestionable acceptance of everything.
あなたはもう少し自分の心を許してあげないと。
Be fairer to yourself. Sandra could not make sense of what he was being told. Only the father's last word made any impression on him. Being fair to yourself is easier said than done, of course. And what that entailed, Sojiro was uncertain of.
おお、そういえば。
Actually, that makes sense. Toko had mentioned something similar before, and it had impressed him. First her, now this priest. How could people know things he hadn't even told them?
すごいですね。神父さんっていうのはみんなそうなんですか？
Wow. Are all priests like you? Sojiro said, curious as to where the weight of his shoulders had gone to. In a way, one of his strong points is the fact that his emotional scars do not show on the surface.
ええ、神父は悩みを暴くのが仕事ですから。
Indeed, a priest is obliged to shine a light on troubled hearts.
ま、大抵は暴くだけで埋めるのに失敗するんですけどね。
Though, of course, that's not always enough.
お、悩みを暴くって、つまり相談事ですか？
By shine a light, do you mean talk things over?
そういうソフトなのも承っています。私が解決できる悩みなど、たかが知れているようですけど。
Yes, to a certain extent at least. The only problems I can solve are mostly small. The priest shrugged, looking a little disconcerted. Granted, Sojiro still did not trust Father Eri at all, but at that moment, anyone was a ray of light in his eyes.
じゃあ、たかが知れた程度の悩みを聞いてもらえますか？
Well, do you mind helping me with another small problem?
君が青子をなぜ羨むか、ですね。
You want to know why you're envious of Aoko, correct? It was as though the priest could see into the boy's soul with his serene eyes.
まあ、そういうことです。
Well, yeah.
自分でもどうしてそう思うのかがわからない。でもあなたならそれを知ってそうだ。
I didn't even know I could feel this way myself, but you seem to.
知りませんけど、まあ、無責任に答えましょうか。
I don't. I can simply guess, not being the one to shoulder the burden.
それはおそらく、あなたには根拠がないからですよ。
Your envy may come from your lack of a foundation.
自分の色がないと例えた方が正確ですが。
Or more accurately, your lack of a color of your own. Sojiro squinted, trying to understand the priest's complicated yet concise answer.
ほら、そこです。君に優れた部分があるとしたら、その順応性です。
This is what I'm talking about. You're extraordinarily flexible.
山という異界から町に降りて、一人で暮らしていけたこと。
You learned to live alone in a city after coming down from the mountains.
ようやく慣れた常識の中で、青子たちという非常識と関わっても暮らしていけたこと。
And then, once you've gotten used to that, you started living with Aoko and Alice in a very different world. Well, once again, that was he willingly didn't do that.
そうであると努めているにしても、あなたの順応性は際立っている。
I don't know if you're consciously trying to adapt, but regardless, your ability to do so is astonishing.
原因は知りませんが、君には初めから自我というものが第一に現れてはいないのです。
Also, I don't know why, but you do not appear to exhibit signs of a regular ego.
何事にも対応できるものの、主に交わるほど器用でもない。
You can respond to anything, but aren't influenced by it.
強いて言うのなら、色の乗っていない空白ですかね。
To be frank, you're a blank canvas that stays blank.
風景に溶け込む自然さは素晴らしい人徳ですが、自我がないということは、居場所がないということですから。
While blending into your surroundings is a wonderful thing, no sense of self means having no place to call home. So more like a chameleon?
いいことばかりじゃありません。
Your talent is a double-edged sword.
ユイカにまで見えないというのは予想以上でしたが、姿なき精霊すら捉えるあれが見えなかったのですから、君の無欲ぶりも筋金入りだ。
The fact Yuka didn't see you was unexpected. She can perceive even incorporeal element spirits, and yet not you. That says a lot about your lack of greed. As if amused by something, Father Eri grinned. However, Sojiro understood neither the meaning of his smile nor his words.
憶測に過ぎませんが、青子はあなたを見て反感を覚えたと思いますよ。
This is mere speculation, but I believe Aoko feels resentment when she looks at you.
自分のないあなたは、自己を押し通してきた彼女にとって認めがたいものだったでしょうから。
To a brazen soul like her, your lack of self is something she simply cannot accept.
そして同時に、あなたは青子に自分ではどうしても手に入れられないものを見てしまった。
And yet, you see something in Aoko you can never attain.
言葉にするとくだらない表現になりますが、そういうことです。
It feels crude to put such things into words, but it is what it is.
先ほどは嫉妬と言いましたが、それは訂正しましょう。
A moment ago, I said you envied Aoko, but that's not quite true.
君は青子に、いや、いいです。
In fact, No, never mind.
言葉にするのは、それこそ野暮だ。
Some things are best left unsaid. Father Aries smiled gently. It was a fresh-faced grin that belied his age. Whenever it came to Aoko, he seemed to forget his role as a priest. But that was irrelevant to Sojiro.
神父さん、それで結局自分は青子のどこら辺に憧れてるんですか？
So, Father, what exactly do I admire about Aoko anyway? Sojiro responded to Father Aries' rambling by being direct. Some would say the priest had been direct himself, but this was Sojiro, and he needed things spelled out.
あ、今のでもわからないと。
I had to clean my desk. My shit is so dusty. Alright. You still don't get it.
参りましたね。こういうことは言葉を尽くすほど実感が湧かないものですが、私も神父と呼ばれる身です。少し切り口を変えて代弁してみましょう。
Then you have me beat, Sojiro. Some things really are difficult to put into words. Then again, I am simply a man of the cloth. How about a change of tack?
あなたは青子の過去を知っていますか？
Do you know about Aoko's past?
詳しくは知りません。高校デビューとか、おかしな言葉を口にしてましたけど。
Not much. She told me some weird stuff I didn't understand about her start to high school and things.
全く知らないということですね。
So, by not much, you mean nothing?
いいでしょう。では、しずきくん、虐待のない例え話ですが、
Very well, Suzuki. Allow me to try something more abstract.
君は突然、自殺しろと言われて従えますか？
If you were suddenly told to kill yourself, could you?
自殺ですか？
Kill myself? Oh no, we gotta be a little bit more shocked. Kill myself?
そう、自殺です。神父である私が口にしていいことではありませんが、まあ、私は格好だけなのでいいでしょ
Looks like Father Aries is a fan of CKY. But... Yes, kill yourself. Of course, a priest shouldn't talk about such things, but my appearance is only skin deep.
う。青子はね、近いことを求められたのです。15歳の時に。
Anyway, Alko was asked to do something along those lines when she was 15.
彼女がそれまで積み重ねてきた努力も希望も、過去も未来もすべて捨てること。今日からお前は違う生き物として生きろ。とね。
Throw away her hopes and her dreams, her past and future. Everything she was up to that point. Become a different being entirely.
どうです？それは自己の抹消。未来の死と同じだと思いませんか？
Well, the end of yourself is the end of your future. Wouldn't you agree?
お
His words fit what Alko had said about her past. Until middle school, she led a normal life. Then, out of the blue, she became the family heiress in place of her sister. Becoming a magician meant casting aside the life she had known. She had to leave behind her ambitions and prospects and live the life of a mage, something she barely knew anything about. Her life up to that point had taught her that everything from then on would bring her misery. Alko's grandfather was not the forceful type. Your sister has failed. Now it's your turn, he had said. Did Aoko resist? Sojo could not begin to imagine. All he knew is that she could not be happy with the hand she was dealt. Even if the life of a magician was attractive, to believe the possibility that Aoko could give up her lifestyle up to that point was not known to her at all. Aoko Ozaki put her all into everything. She had probably achieved a lot in those 15 years. Her achievements and prospects were no doubt enough to make anyone jealous. But did she have the conviction to throw those away and go back to square one? I mean, that's how life works, right? Like, hell, I mean, it's kind of crazy how I'm kind of dealing with that right now in my personal life, but it's not nothing too crazy. It's more job related, but hey, if you got to start back at square one, sometimes that's exactly what you got to do, you know? Because life is not a narrow road, ladies and gentlemen. Life is not a narrow road. And square one did not come close to the reality of it. The future she had envisioned for so long would have been obliterated.
青子はどうしたんですか？
So, what did Aoko do?
いやー、これがもう、全くの頑固者でして。
Well, we're talking about one exceptionally stubborn girl.
立ち会った私でさえどうかと思うぐらい、簡単にうなずきました。
Had I not witnessed it myself, I would have not believed it. But she nodded.
震える指を懸命に握り込んで、やってやろうじゃない、と見栄を切ってね。
She stood there defiantly, curling her fingers into balled fists.
彼女は、祖父の期待や青崎の責任感からではなく、逃げることを嫌って魔術師の道を取ったんですよ。
Not to appease her grandfather, not out of obligation to the Ozaki family, but because she hates to run away from anything.
拒むことは逃げではないのでしょうが、青子にはそう思えたんでしょう。逃避という行為は これまでの自分の時間を否定することになると。
Now, refusing something is not the same as running away from it, but try telling that to Aoko. To her, running away would be rejecting the life she forged.
今までの自分を嘘にしてしまうのなら、今までの生活に別れを告げることを青子は選んだのです。
If that was all to go, she would say farewell on her own terms. So that was what she did.
まあ、極端ではありますが、あれは前に進むためなら、すべてを捨てられる人間なんです。
Extreme, but she's the kind of person who would sacrifice everything in the name of progress. An affectionate smile crossed Father Aries' face. Rather than signaling his closeness to Aoko, it conveyed the pride of a guardian.
ですが、私も思い違いをしていました。結局はそうなるように、青子は育てられていたのです。
However, I was also mistaken. As it turns out, Aoko had been raised to become a mage all along.
彼女の祖父は、瞳子が家を出ることも、青子が跡継ぎを了解することも読んだ上で、あの二人を育ててきた。
Her grandfather predicted Toko would leave, and that Aoko would become his heiress, so he raised them both accordingly.
形だけですが、私も神父として、さすがにそれはどうかと思いましてね。柄にもなく、青子を説得したものです。
As a priest, if only by name, I felt uncomfortable about that. I knew she had no interest in her new role.
祖父の思い通りになることはありません。なんなら私とメキシコあたりに逃げませんかと。
Things could hardly go exactly how her grandfather had planned, so I asked her to flee with me to Mexico. Damn, out of all the places in the world, Mexico? That would be fucking strange, because, as a Latino man myself, we're in like the darker side of the color spectrum. So seeing two Japanese people there would be pretty off putting. Feel like that'd be the one place where they'd be like, oh well, hey look, they don't look, like the rest of them. Like the rest of the community there. And like, I don't know, Guadalupe, Mexico.
しかしまあ、躊躇なく振られました。
Alas, she turned me down without a moment's thought.
その時の彼女の返答は、今でも一言一句覚えています。
I still remember every word of her answer.
だって、私一人がどんなに泣き叫んでも、今の状況は変わらないんでしょ？
Well, me crying isn't going to change anything, is it?
私にしかできないなら、正面から受けて立つ。
If I'm the only one who can do it, I'll do it.
たとえ不本意で、突然投げ込まれた川の中でだって、できることはあるはずだもの。
Even if I get thrown to the wolves, I'll just have to find a way to survive. Well, she figuratively and literally got thrown at wolves, so that's a bit of foreshadowing and like a funny coincidence.
逃げるなんてのは最後の最後。
Running away is only a last resort.
それまでは、せいぜい華麗に踊ってやるわ。
Until then, hear me roar. The priest recited her words as if recalling lines from a favorite play. It certainly seemed like something she would say. The last thing Aoko said in the room she was recovering probably meant the same. Of course, when an audience is watching, you want their approval. However, approval must come from within first. Aoko worked to feel proud of herself before worrying about how others viewed her. She at least wanted to do her job with grace. In response to everything she had lost, she would hang in there, even if it meant going it alone. As far as Sojiro envied her, well, it was obvious. To Sojiro, she lived her life with her head held high. He was a boy who accepted everything, but had nothing. She was a girl who threw it all away, but never lost a thing. He stood in the meeting room alone, seeing the ugliness within, and the sublime outside. Looking back, he finally realized what was eating at him.
もういいでしょう。君は青子の容姿に感じ入ったのではなく、青崎青子という生き方に感じ入ったのです。
I think you see it now. It's not her appearance that strikes you as beautiful, but her spirit.
ま、青子は青子で、れっきとした美人ですが。
Not that she's physically beautiful, of course. Sojiro nodded. From the first day he met her, that was indeed how he had felt. It just took him till now to realize it. The strength in her eyes and her unwavering will had captured his heart.
なんかすごい汗我慢だ。
She puts up with a lot, huh?
本当に。小娘のくせに、ギネス級の頑固さです。
She really does. That's a lot of fight packed into that small frame. Father Aerie spoke from the heart. Sojiro raised his head, gave a small grin, and scratched his cheek. So many hours wasted brooding like an idiot. A part of him still felt strange, but it didn't bother him to leave the question unsolved for now. Unable to stay still, he stood up. He couldn't care less about the Aozaki family, mage battles, or Aoko rushing off to her death. Right now, he just wanted to see her face. Now he's a
お待ち
believer.
なさい。病室は立ち入り禁止です。
Stop. The recovery room is off limits. The cold words echoed around the chapel. They reached Sojiro as he was about to head back to Aoko. The sightless sister must have been waiting by the altar. She moved quickly to block his path.
ゆいかさん、今病室には入れないんですか？
Miss Yuka, I'm not allowed in?
はい。しばらく人よけをしてほしいと、クオンジ様からことづかっています。
Correct. Miss Kuonji told me to make sure nobody enters.
アリスが？
Alice said that? Sojiro was suspicious of why Alice would have said that. He could understand being kept out if Aoko was being treated, or her condition had worsened, but this seemed different. Besides, Aoko herself said her treatment had finished.
人がいいのですね、シスターユイカは。そんな方便をしなくてもいいんですよ。
Now, Sister Yuka. There's no need to be so curt.
はっきり言ってあげればいい。今から病室に行っても無駄です。と。
Why not just tell him the truth? That room is actually empty.
青子はとっくに出発しているんですから。
Aoko left some time ago.
エイリ神父。
But, Father Aerie. The priest began to explain everything from the pew he still sat in. About the things he and Sojiro had spoken about. And why he, a stranger, would be so concerned about a person he knew nothing about. It all became clear to Sojiro.
初めからそのつもりだったんですね。
This was your plan all along? Yeah, they're gonna beat the shit out of you, dude. That'd be crazy, right? What a twist. They just fucking dogpile him. Sojiro's voice was full of anger, but Father Aerie did not flinch.
申し訳ありません。青子にあなたの保護を頼まれたもので。
My apologies. Aoko requested to look after you.
彼女の準備が整うまでの時間稼ぎでしたが、私があなたと話をしたかったのは事実ですよ。
While I did need to buy her time to prepare, I honestly did want to talk to you. The priest's attempt to smooth things over was far from sincere. Sojiro grit his teeth to control his rage. Why had they not stopped Aoko and Alice from heading towards certain death? Because both the nun and the priest were the exact same ilk as the mages. I never heard of that word, ilk. As such, they understood Aoko's decision, and the priest understood Aoko too. Even if he did have the power to stop her, he would not have. There you go. The Aoko Ozaki he knew was not about to hide away in a church and lick her wounds. Well, I mean, that would be a good idea, right? Gather at least some strength.
アリスは？
You know what Aoko just did? You know, like in Mortal Kombat, where like Scorpion will like destroy Johnny Cage's like knee Like that shit's bent backwards, shattered, but then Johnny gets back up and moves around like it's nothing. That's exactly what happened to Aoko, bro. Fucking the wolf attacked her. She was in the recovery room for like 2 seconds and then walked right back out. All right, here we go. Oh, I'm running out of tea. Damn. Where's Alice?
青子と行きましたよ。あれから30分は過ぎていますね。
What the Aoko? They left about 30 minutes ago. Father Airy even went so far as to divulge the time. 30 minutes ago. The same time the priest reared his head. Would have not taken even half that long to get to the school from here. And then another 10 minutes or less to get to Masaki High's old school building from there. Sojiro turned to the entrance of the chapel. However,
待ちなさい。どこへ行くつもりですか？
stop. Where do you think you're going? The sound of her voice stopped him in his tracks. I'm pretty sure it's the obvious. An unseen pressure had locked him in place. Her admonition seemed to carry a spellbinding power, stopping the foolhardy boy where he stood.
あなたは魔術師同士の争いを知りません。
You know nothing of mage battles. Well, I don't know, because when Aoko and Alice were fucking trying to kill each other at a theme park, I'm pretty sure he got first-hand experience of what the fuck a mage battle was.
何の助力にもならないばかりか。彼女たちの足かせになるだけです。
You're too weak to help. You'd be a liability.
彼女たちが命を落とすのは彼女たちの業によるもの。望むままに傷つけ合えばいいでしょう。
If they fall, that's their prerogative. Let them tear each other apart as they wish.
あなたのような何の咎もない若者が教示に立ち会うことはありません。
A young innocent bystander like you has no business taking part in such a calamity. Well, I mean, that's the reason why this whole game exists, right? Is because he got put into that business of calamity. She spoke with quiet anger. Her contempt was not directed at Oko or Alice, though, but Sojiro was being so eager to waste his life.
何かしら希望があるのなら私も止めはしません。
If there was a shred of hope, I wouldn't stop you.
ですがこの件は別です。あなたが言っても彼女たちが助かることはありません。
But there isn't. There's nothing you can do for them, either. She was right. It would be pointless of him to go. At the amusement park, he had been useless in the end. Now, they face something even worse. He couldn't even imagine how he might contribute this time.
言っておきますが、青崎青子は祖父に護身術を教え込まれています。魔術以外でもあなたより腕は立つ。
Listen carefully. Aoko Aozaki's grandfather trained her to protect herself. Magecraft aside, she's still tougher than you.
その彼女も、あの使い魔が相手では勝負にならない。
Even so, she still doesn't stand a chance against that beast of a familiar. Sojiro's physical strength, his only edge, meant nothing. If he went now, he would only get in their way. Yuka was correct. And yet...
でも、行かないと。青子には返さなくちゃいけない借りがあります。
I have to go. I owe Aoko a debt I must repay. He spoke calmly but firmly. Though almost moved, the sister frowned slightly. She felt bad for him, but her warning was for his own good. If he would not listen to reason, then she would make him sleep. She raised a finger of binding at Sojiro.
それを言うなら、返したい借りがある。ですよ、宗十郎くん。
You mean you want to repay your debt, Sojiro?
それとシスターユイカ、教会内での魔術は控えてくださいね。
Incidentally, Sister Yuka, please refrain from using magecraft within the church.
使うのなら、秘跡に留めてもらわないと、私の査定に響きます。
At least, save it for religious ceremonies, or it'll affect my investigation.
まったく、おとなしそうに見えて、律香くんより短気なんですから、あなたは。
Dear Lord, give me strength. You seem so quiet, Sojiro, but you're more short-tempered than Ritsuka.
エイリ神父。しかし、
If I may, Father Airy.
行かせてあげればいいじゃないですか。それともあなたは、やはり青子たちに退場してほしいと？
I see no harm in letting him go. Or would you rather see Toko destroy Aoko and Alice? I would
そ
like to
の
see
問
that.
題と彼の献身は別の話です。
That issue is separate from the suicidal devotion.
改めなさい、しずきさん。あなたが言っても何もできはしないのですから。
My dog's barking. Reconsider, Mr. Suzuki. Even if you go, there's nothing you can do for them. The truth of the statement cut Sojiro deep, but despite everything that was being said, his mind was made up. It always had been. Even if he was not certain, he would at least not hesitate. He had always followed his instincts to the end, no matter where they took him.
分かっています。
I know. Oh, hold on just one second. Alright, and I'm back. Had to get some water because I ran out of tea. So let's get back to the story, shall we? I know,
でも、行かないと。
but I'm still going.
ここにいたら、本当に何もできない。
If I stay here, I really am powerless. His heart burned in his chest. While he listened to the priest talk, he could only think of seeing Aoko. He was not worried. He did not want to help. He just wanted to see her. He would figure out what came next once he got there.
ほら、献身なんて考え自体が間違ってるんです。
See? He isn't suicidal.
足を引っ張ると言いますが、どのみち青子たちに勝ち目はないんでしょ？
You say he'll get in the way, but Aoko and Alice stand no chance of winning anyway, correct?
なら、彼がマイナスになってもいいじゃないですか。どうせ破産するなら、豪快に破産すれば。
So what's the problem? Better to burn out in a blaze of glory.
神父。
Father.
ほら、宗十郎くん、行って行って。
What are you waiting for, Sojiro? Get going.
シスター、今のあなたの返事で心が折れましたから。
Your response has moved Sister Yuka,
足、動くでしょ？
and now you can move your legs, right? As soon as the priest pointed at Sojiro, he could move again. The pressure weighing on his shoulders lifted, along with the fear in his heart. Could he help? Would he expose Aoko and Alice to more danger? All such doubts had vanished.
行きます。縁が残っていれば、また。
I'm heading out then. With any luck, we'll meet again.
はい。なんであれ、後悔のない一日を。
Good. Whatever happens, no regrets. And with that, Sojiro began to run, as Father Airy watched with a look of satisfaction. The priest knew if he could not persuade Aoko, he could not convince Sojiro either. He watched as the impetuous? Impetuous? That's how you say that. Boy, run away. As the blind nun listened to his footsteps fade into the distance. Yuka was different from Sojiro and the priest. While she showed no mercy to corruption or self-righteousness, she embraced benevolence to the innocent. Such an ordinary boy with his life ahead of him, and yet he chose to follow heretics into hell.
最悪ですね、エイリ神父。
Again, I mean, I just like a broken record at this point. Let's keep going. How can you live with yourself, Father Airy?
分別のつかない子供を導くのが責任のある大人だと思いましたが。
I thought responsible adults guided wayward children. She made no effort to hide her biting disapproval. It was simply her way of showing concern for the boy. Father Airy shrugged.
だから、いろいろと間違えていますよ、シスターユイカ。
You're mistaken about a few things, Sister Yuka.
責任のある大人なんて言葉自体がおかしい。
Your use of the term responsible adult for a start. Watch him again. I'm actually only 22.
何が起きても責任を取る。それが正しい大人というものです。
An adult is someone who takes responsibility no matter what. The rest went unspoken. It didn't matter to him which of them died. With a warm, goodly smile, the priest corrected the nun's misunderstanding. Ooh, there we go. That's going to be it for this episode now. All right. Well, let's save that. All right. I think that's going to be it for today's video, ladies and gentlemen, man. Finally getting on to the next part, Witch on the Holy Night Part 2. Got this nice little field of flowers that probably signifies something. But I think we're slowly getting closer to the end of the story, man. And I'm hyped. I want to see what happens, you know? This long climactic battle between Aoko, Alice, and Toko. That'd be pretty sick. Oh, and the wolf. I can't forget about the wolf either. What the fuck was his name? Beowulf? I think that's what it was. But hopefully you guys did enjoy. And if you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. It is your boy White Album. I will see you guys next time.